Welcome to my job shop. My name is Keith and I'm your host. And today we have a unusual piece in here. Most people probably haven't seen one of these before or even know what it is. This is an antique plate press. Well, it might press more than plates, but as far as I know, the only thing I've known this process or this machine here to do is plates. In a glass museum, Sandwich Glass Museum. This is who owns this. And Dave at McDermott Studios, he does a lot of glass plates and a lot of work for the Sandwich Glass Museum. And we have a broken part on here and we're going to repair it. But let me just tell you a little bit about this. First off, there's a yoke that comes out here and you can steer this thing around. And it does look like it comes right out of the 18th century. Everything, it looks like it was cast and it's spring loaded here. It has a clacker on the back here that does two dogs like this on the main section down in here, which is the die. Now this die here happens to be Sandwich Boardwalk or something like that. And that is actually the bottom of the plate, the die for the bottom of the plate. The piece that you drop the molten glass on and slide into against this stop, which I made this stop several years back. And I've also made one of the dies that come in to do the scallop fringe dish for, they had, I think they had 4 different styles or images that they could load in here and stamp with that same female or the top that I made. There's no male and female. That's bottom, which is on the top, and top, which is on the bottom. This is usually a mirror image so that when you're staring through your plate, I believe that's when you see the correct spelling and things like that. So I think it's a mirror image is what I'm getting at. Anyhow, that's basically, you slide the plate in, boom, you come down and it puts the right amount of pressure. You pull it out, you empty that glass very gingerly, and then it goes into an oven because you got to control the temperature down. So this thing has a lot of heat and a lot of preheat, and I don't know all the details in it, but it all has to go and play with keeping that molten glass at a uniform and controlled temperature so it doesn't break or shatter. All right. My project is this bolt has broke off from where it screws into here. There's 4 of them on here and they just hold the springs in line and they control that spring pressure. So the stop will come down and hold its location with the other die, and then the center continues down and presses the right depth to squeeze the right amount of glass. It's quite something to watch, especially to watch them put a glob, which it takes experience to know how big that glob is going to be to make that uniform plate thickness. It's pretty well something. All right, so we have a broken off bolt down in here, and my job is to go ahead and extract that, repair this bolt or make a new bolt, and then put this back together, and then just do a once over and make sure that we're secure on everything else on this press here. So I'm going to get set up, and we're going to remove. I'm going to try to remove that without having to set this thing up and take it all apart, set that up in the mill, and drill and tap it out. Now, they say why bring it here and not there? I actually, to extract that without setting it up, I'm going to weld onto the top of this, bring the metal up out of the hole. And then I'm going to drop a nut on it, and I'm going to weld a nut to it. And then that should put enough heat in there, expand it, and then come back down. And also, too, I don't think this was broken off because this shoulder's out. So I don't think it was broken off because it was over tightened or whatever in there. I believe it was broken off, just fatigue, and it happened to crack at that threads. And I don't think that's jammed in there. It might be old and rusty now. This break doesn't look like it just happened. Just part of this looks like it just happened. Let's get set up. The first thing I want to do is get a good clean surface of metal on the top of the broken part of the threads that are down in there. All right, and that's a pretty good height right there. And I kind of like 309L and TIG rod. It joins with just about everything, and it's really smooth to bring up out of a hole as far as the flow and control, things like that. All right, stool. What do I want to sit on here? All right, a little power. Okay, you can see that I've brought that surface up above or right close to being level with that. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring it up farther from there. But I was able to join almost that diameter right to the top of that threaded area there without getting too close to the threads. We might be high enough to put a 1/2-inch bolt on it. Let me check and see what we got. All right, we found just a plain 1/2-inch nut, and it's sticking up there. I can add to that. We're going to create a lot of heat doing this, and that should go on down inside there and expand it. All right, we'll go ahead and take a walkabout, and we're going to let that saturate a little heat in there and let it cool down. And you know, we may have to heat this out here, but I want to make sure that we've expanded it and then it's had a chance to contract and loosen itself up, if it is going to do that, you know, at all. All right, we've cooled down enough, I think. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, if I had a TIG welder backpack, I probably could have done this down at the studio. That was basically just fatigue. But what I think I'm gonna do, my suspicions were right. I believe that this was just a fatigue here, and it probably got loose. And once it got loose and it wasn't seated against that shoulder, it was probably rocking back and forth. This is a 5/8 nut, and it screws on there really nice. So I think I'm just going to chuck this up, and I'm going to face that off without taking any off of the shoulder. We don't want to change the length of this at all. And then we're going to drill and tap into it and create a 5/8 female thread up inside there. And then we're going to take a piece of nice hard 5/8 thread, all threads.
I didn't understand that.
I wasn't talking to you. Shut up, Bixby. All right. So I'm going to drill and tap into here. Put it in a hardened stud. Loctite it into here. Have the appropriate amount of stick out that it originally has in here. And then we'll reinsert it with the springs. And then I'm just going to go ahead and quickly give each one of these a checkup and make sure that they're tight. And we're going to hit a couple other areas here that might need some lubrication. This thing is really getting sticky here. I just come back from the little lathe there, the Rutland. We just faced off that broken area there and then drilled down in here, gave it a 5/8 thread. This is a piece of B16 all thread. I use it to use this full length materials. I cut it up and I use it in my prop pullers and things like that, where you might be using some heat. B16 we used to use in the shipyards for 600-pound and 1,200-pound steam systems. It's very, very kind to the hands. It's nice and round and uniform. It's very, very strong, and it also upholds to heat. Fits right into the criteria of this, so I thought it would be perfect to use this. I went in 2 inches and then put the tap in, the length of the tap, depth there, or the flute of the tap. I want to go ahead and run this down through here because I just want to make sure that I have good clean threads down in here. And also make sure that 1800s tapped holes, I don't know how old this thing is, but I'm just guessing. But making sure that it's going to be adequate for this to go down in there. And it's pushing out some rust and stuff that's down in there. I'm going to go grab a little bit of fluid to put in there. Awesome. Okay, let's blow that out. All right, we got nice threads there now. All right. We're going to take and douche this out with some acetone. Just get rid of the tapping fluids. And we'll give this a quick wire brush and do the same thing, rinsing it off. We're going to assemble these with some blue Loctite. We'll hold this in the chuck jaws, the lathe, so we can, you know, get some tension on it. Or put that in a vise and double nut this. And we're going to tighten that down into there. And then after that, we're going to take the hacksaw and we're going to cut it off to that length there. And then we're going to come in and install it into this piece here. And there again, I'll probably put a couple drops of blue Loctite on there. I don't want it to be 100% permanent, but I would like to tighten it up and lock it in place. Just like the other four feel like they're locked in place right now. We're all set on the bolt now. We've matched that depth. We matched the depth of where this was at and where this nut was sitting on top of there. So we probably about 60 thousandths longer threads, but it's close enough. We're way past the length is way past the width of the bolt, and that's the general rule. The strength of the bolt is no stronger than the width of the bolt in length. Okay, the spring goes in here and the shims went on the top, and we want to add some Loctite to this thread here. It's way more than enough. And go ahead and put the spring in here like that. Put those shims that they had here. That'll shoulder out and it'll be the length that it's supposed to be. So this is really kind of a no-brainer. I didn't have to think about how long this is going to be or anything else like that. Just get those threads out, create new threads, and put the thing back together. Okay. I like that. We'll keep that piece for a souvenir. All right. I think. Okay. I'm just going to give this thing a douching because it don't seem to get it when I'm not around it. So, and then I'll wipe it on down. That's where the spring pressure, these just basically hold those springs in place. You can see that. The thing glides now. Of course, I'll wipe it down because they don't want all this excess oil on here, but it should have an oilless sheen to it anyway. All right, and then I'm just going to spray some in on these areas. Should be lubricated from time to time because they are adjustments. The setting, the throw, the spring load. This opens and closes the dies. Okay, I think we juiced it up enough. I'm gonna go grab a couple rags and I'm gonna start wiping down the excess oil on this. Okay, I think she's ready to go press some plates. All right, that's it for this quickie little job here. Until next time, get her done.